okay, you're saying something that's actually factually inaccurate according to the narrative. Now, let's be real clear. I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird going on.
In a jaw-dropping twist, Joe Rogan just dropped a serious bombshell on his podcast, and now everyone is locked in and talking. Rogan didn't hold back at all. He flat out said he's not buying the official story about what really happened to Charlie Kirk, and that alone set off a storm online. He called the whole situation straight up weird, pointing out that too many pieces just don't line up the way they should. And honestly, people are starting to see what he means.
First of all, there was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombing.
All the hits.
He called in a fake bomb at another place. And then he did this at this thing.
Rogan highlighted a list of strange inconsistencies that are making folks uneasy, including reports about a supposed decoy suspect who might be tied to other shady cases. That detail alone has people raising eyebrows everywhere. Suspicious, right? Rogan went deep, questioning everything, from the shooter's supposed skill level to the confusing story around the weapon itself.
Charlie Kirk thing happened because my antennas went up about, they showed the photo of that kid, or the guy that they have, the 22-year-old, whatever. And I was almost going to be like, dude.
He even said it clearly. This story has more holes than Swiss cheese. The second those words hit, social media exploded like crazy. Now the rumors are spreading fast. People are whispering that those close to Kirk might be holding back information, and some are even mentioning his wife in connection to the chaos. Nothing is confirmed, but the noise is getting louder by the minute, and people are watching closely. That's right, things just took a messy turn, and it's only getting wilder from here.
So somehow or another, this guy has the state of mind that the moment someone gets shot, he yells out and says, I did it, and takes his pants down or something like that. I don't know exactly what he did. Then, ready for this? He gets arrested for child porn right away.
Right after this happened?
Oh, right away. He's in jail for child porn. Why?
So get ready, because what's coming next feels like pure chaos unfolding in real time. The recent shooting involving conservative figure Charlie Kirk sent shockwaves across the entire country, and the details keep getting more intense by the hour. Kirk was shot on September 10th, 2025, during what was supposed to be a normal student Q&A session at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. 1 second, everything felt routine, and the next, it flipped into something tragic that no one saw coming. Despite emergency crews rushing in and doing everything they could, he passed away shortly after from his injuries. And just like that, the situation exploded into a storm of confusion.
This kid had a rifle with a scope. Now, here's where it gets weird. The first images of this rifle with a scope, I swear to God, it looks like he has a composite stock on it. Like it looks like a modern 30-06 rifle.
Non-stop questions and controversy that refuses to die down. After a tense 33-hour manhunt that had the whole nation glued to updates, police finally arrested 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. But instead of answers, the arrest only added more pressure, more speculation, and way more eyes on what really went down. Now he's facing serious charges, aggravated murder, and discharging a firearm causing major injury, and that alone has people locked in on every update. At first glance, the case looks clean and straightforward, maybe a little too clean. But the moment Joe Rogan started talking about it on his podcast, everything flipped upside down. Rogan hinted that the official version might not line up with reality at all, saying, I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird stuff happening.
The narrative is that this is his grandfather's rifle from World War I and doesn't have a serial code. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Why? Wait. Why are you using such an old gun? That's the other thing. they said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the fuck up. Do you know how much time?
And just like that, the internet went full detective mode overnight. People started digging into every detail. Rogan pointed out some seriously strange claims, including talk about a possible decoy suspect connected to other criminal cases. He made it clear that detail alone made him question how solid this investigation really is. Then came the part about the weapon, and Joe was not buying it at all. Reports claimed Robinson used a restored World War I era rifle. Yes, a weapon that's over 100 years old. Rogan reacted with straight disbelief, questioning how something that old, supposedly taken apart and rebuilt, could even function the way they're claiming. Said, could even be capable of pulling off a shot that clean and calculated. It just doesn't sit right with him. He said it straight up, and fans all over instantly agreed. The more he talked, the more frustrated he got with all the inconsistencies stacking up. Joe even joked about stepping in and investigating the whole thing himself, but the way he said it, it didn't feel like just a joke. There was a sharp edge to it, like he genuinely believes something deeper could be going on behind the scenes. He hinted at the possibility of a bigger hidden story, maybe even a cover-up. And that alone sent people into overdrive. And just when it felt like things couldn't get any more intense, another major voice jumped in. Candace Owens entered the conversation and dropped her own shocking take. She claimed the public might have been misled from the very beginning, saying she believes Tyler Robinson was framed over the weekend. She teased that she had received new information about the case, and now she's coming out strong with it. According to Candace, what authorities have shared about the Charlie Kirk situation doesn't fully add up, and she's openly questioning the narrative. If that turns out to be true, then this story might not be about just one person. It could point to something much bigger happening behind the scenes. Candace Owens didn't just raise a few doubts. She completely shook the conversation. Her latest statement sent the internet into a frenzy, with people trying to piece together what she could be hinting at. While looking deeper into the case, she claimed a politician's name unexpectedly came up, suggesting the situation might connect to something far more complex than anyone first thought. She didn't stop there either. Owens went as far as accusing law enforcement of possibly shaping the story in a way that influences public perception. And that claim alone has people debating hard and questioning everything they've heard so far. Calling their version of events just another story meant to keep people calm, at least in her view. She kept pushing the idea that too many pieces of this puzzle just don't fit together the way they should. First, she questioned whether Tyler Robinson was even the shooter at all. Why would someone turn themselves in so quickly but never actually confess to anything? That alone had people raising serious questions. Then she brought up the so-called bullet markings that were used to connect him to the weapon. According to her, Robinson looked completely caught off guard when investigators mentioned those details, like he didn't even understand what they were talking about. She told her audience that moment didn't sit right with her at all. And then came the weapon controversy again. Reports claimed the gun belonged to Robinson, but Candace pushed back hard, reminding everyone that Tyler isn't known for being into firearms. That detail only added more confusion and gave people even more reason to question how everything is being presented. He doesn't collect guns, doesn't go shooting for fun. None of that fits the image being pushed, at least according to her. The more she talked, the more she made the official story sound off, like something just isn't lining up the way it should. Then she brought up those strange text messages allegedly sent by Robinson before the attack. Owen said the tone didn't even sound like him. She pointed out how the messages used formal words like vehicle, claiming that's not how he normally talks in real life. That detail alone had people second-guessing everything. But what really hit hard was what she said about Tyler's surrender. The story going around claimed his father convinced him to turn himself in, but Owens pushed back on that completely. According to her, that version of events isn't accurate at all, and that claim alone has people questioning what actually led up to that moment. A family friend was actually the one who tipped them off that Tyler had been named as the shooter? That changes the whole picture. If that's true, then it wasn't some clear confession at all. It could have been a rushed move to understand what was going on before things spiraled even further. That idea alone had people rethinking everything they thought they knew about that moment. And just when it seemed like the story couldn't go any deeper, Candace came through with another heavy claim. She reminded everyone that, according to reports, Charlie Kirk had mentioned a major internal audit of Turning Point USA just a week before his death. That detail hit hard and instantly had people connecting dots, wondering if there's more behind the scenes than anyone expected. That audit, according to her, was meant to expose a hidden department inside the organization, a secretive, rogue unit. She claimed it was tied to tracking millions of dollars that had somehow gone missing without clear answers. That idea alone had people stunned, trying to figure out what could really be going on behind closed doors. Owens pushed it even further, hinting that this could have been the real motive behind everything. According to her, the truth might be way darker than most people are ready to accept, and that suggestion instantly took the conversation to another level. When you combine Candace Owens' explosive claims with Joe Rogan's open skepticism, the entire Charlie Kirk case gets thrown into total chaos. Together, their voices sparked a flood of theories, suspicions, and non-stop speculation all over the internet. Everywhere you look, people are debating, questioning, and trying to piece it all together. And Joe wasn't finished stirring things up, not even close. Back on his podcast, he kept digging deeper into the strange and confusing details surrounding the case, pushing even more questions into the spotlight. Focusing on one of the strangest parts of the story, Rogan zeroed in on the man who was described as a supposed decoy during the shooting. He painted a chaotic picture, an older man acting erratic and completely out of control right after the gunfire rang out. According to what was being reported, the man started yelling, "I did it! I did it!" while behaving in a way that shocked everyone around him. The scene left people confused, unsettled, and trying to make sense of what they had just witnessed. The behavior was disturbing, no doubt. But Rogan suggested it also raised serious questions, because here's where things take an even stranger turn. There have been claims floating around about this individual's past, suggesting possible connections to other major incidents, though none of that has been clearly verified. That uncertainty only adds another layer of confusion. People are left wondering what's real, what's exaggerated, and why this moment played out in such a bizarre and unsettling way in the first place. That's right. The same face reportedly showing up around multiple national tragedies. Maybe it's all just coincidence, but for a lot of people, that feels way too strange to ignore. The idea that someone with that kind of background could appear at yet another major SNBHVN has people online completely spiraling, asking, what are the odds of that happening again and again? And then things took an even darker turn. Just days after the Kirk shooting, reports say this same man was suddenly arrested on charges related to illegal material involving minors. The timing raised eyebrows instantly because it meant he was taken out of the spotlight before anyone could question him further or hear his side of the story. Rogan didn't hold back when talking about it. He pointed out how the timing of that arrest felt almost too perfect, suggesting it shut down any chance for deeper questioning. He said the whole situation just doesn't sit right, and a lot of people online are echoing that same feeling. Since then, online communities have gone full investigation mode. Forums, threads, and are popping up everywhere with people trying to connect the dots and figure out what's really going on behind all these strange details. People online are now digging deep into this man's past, picking apart every detail and asking how one person could keep showing up around multiple national tragedies. It's a question that keeps getting louder the more people look into it. Some believe he might have just been an unstable bystander looking for attention in chaotic moments. But others aren't convinced at all. They're asking if he was placed there on purpose, a distraction maybe, designed to throw off investigators and keep the public confused while something else played out behind the scenes. This whole decoy suspect idea has quickly turned into one of the most unsettling parts of the case. For some, it lines up perfectly with Rogan's claim that the official story has gaps and missing pieces. For others, it's just another strange and disturbing detail in a situation that keeps getting more complex, more confusing, and way harder to ignore. Something about this entire situation just feels off, and people everywhere keep asking the same question. What are we not being told? The deeper this story goes, the darker and more complicated it starts to look. The decoy suspect theory already had the internet buzzing, but what came next pushed everything into a whole new level of chaos. Officials may have closed their case on Tyler Robinson, but the public is nowhere near done. Online sleuths, podcasters, and theory-driven communities have been working nonstop, breaking down every photo, every clip, every timeline they can get their hands on. And what they believe they're finding is unsettling, because now the focus is shifting, not just on the shooting itself, but on what may have been happening inside Turning Point USA in the days leading up to Charlie Kirk's death. Candace Owens was one of the first to bring it up, saying Kirk had reportedly called for a major internal audit just a week before everything happened. That detail alone lit a fire online. People immediately started digging, trying to figure out what exactly was being reviewed and why it might matter. What's surfaced since then is still unverified, but it's fueling even more speculation. Some anonymous sources have claimed the audit may have focused on a little-known internal division, allegedly tied to large amounts of donor money that weren't clearly accounted for. Those claims haven't been confirmed, but they've definitely added another layer of mystery that people can't seem to ignore. And according to the whispers, this division didn't operate like a normal department. It allegedly moved more like a private intelligence-style unit. That alone had people raising serious questions. Because if that's even partly true, then this wasn't just about balancing numbers. It starts to sound like something tied to control, loyalty, and influence. Rumors began spreading that Kirk may have uncovered donations that never reached their intended destination. Millions allegedly redirected into quiet projects and carefully managed PR efforts. Some claims even point toward outside consulting firms with deep political connections, which only adds more tension to the story. If any of that holds weight, it suggests Kirk might have been preparing to expose financial issues within his own organization. And moves like that can create powerful enemies very quickly. That's when the questions started getting louder online. Was Charlie Kirk stopped before he could reveal something big? But the twists didn't stop there. Online investigators noticed that several staff members reportedly left Turning Point USA in the weeks leading up to the shooting. No announcements, no clear explanations, just quiet exits that caught people's attention. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Some of those same names have allegedly shown up later connected to other political groups, and at least one has been linked through public records to a lobbying firm with government contracts. None of this is confirmed, but it's adding even more layers to a story that just keeps getting deeper and harder to ignore. The timing felt way too eerie to brush off, and that's exactly where the suspicion starts getting even deeper. Because when Candace Owens went live again, she dropped a line that sent shockwaves across social media. She said, "You don't clean house a week before a shooting unless something big was about to come out, and people could feel the tension through the screen." That statement alone had viewers on edge. The way she framed it made it sound like this wasn't random or impulsive at all, but something far more calculated, something planned. And when Candace starts connecting dots like that, people pay attention fast. Then Joe Rogan stepped back into the conversation, adding even more fuel. After hearing Candace's claims, he revisited the case and admitted that if someone was about to expose serious issues inside their own organization, it could make them a major target. That idea hit hard and pushed even more people to question the bigger picture. Rogan also pointed out something else that didn't sit right with him. He talked about how quickly the narrative around Tyler Robinson came together. Within hours of the incident, details like the suspect's name, photo, and supposed motive were already circulating everywhere. And that speed raised eyebrows, because at that point, the investigation had barely even started. Joe summed it up in a way that stuck with people, suggesting it almost felt like the story was prepared ahead of time. That idea that the official narrative might have been put together ahead of time has now taken over online conversations completely. TikTok threads, Reddit pages, Telegram groups, they're all flooded with breakdowns and theories. A lot of people are claiming that the evidence against Robinson feels staged, pointing to things like the alleged text messages and surveillance images that seem too blurry to clearly confirm anything. Some are even going deeper, saying they've noticed mismatches between the timestamps on the footage and the lighting seen in the clips. That's how far people are digging into this. Every tiny detail is being picked apart and questioned. But the most chilling question isn't about the footage or even the weapon. It's the why behind all of it. Why now? Why Kirk? And why at a public student event, on camera in a place packed with security? Those questions are hitting harder than anything else. A lot of people aren't buying the idea of coincidence anymore. They believe it could have been symbolic, something meant to shock, send a message, and warn others not to step out of line. That interpretation has only added more tension to an already intense situation. And then there are the personal accounts. Some unverified sources online have claimed that right before the final Q&A, Charlie seemed distracted, even uneasy. One student who attended reportedly said he kept glancing toward the exits like he was expecting someone to walk in at any moment. That chilling observation quickly turned into one of the most viral quotes tied to this entire. People couldn't stop replaying it, analyzing every word, trying to figure out what it really meant. And if that didn't raise enough eyebrows already, more strange accounts started coming out. Several people in the audience later claimed they noticed unfamiliar men standing near the back of the auditorium, plain clothes, earpieces, not acting like typical campus security or police at all. Even stranger, they were reportedly gone right after the shooting, like they disappeared into thin air. Then things took an even darker twist. A leaked snippet from a local police radio log allegedly showed that officers first believed there were two suspects, not just one. But somehow, that second individual was cleared within an hour and never publicly identified. That detail never made it into mainstream coverage, but online investigators say they captured screenshots of the dispatch logs before they were taken down. Now, people are stuck on one question. Who was that second person, and why were they erased from the story so fast? Candace Owens brought this up during one of her live streams, reacting in real time and clearly unsettled as she started to break it all down. It's like we're watching a movie play out in real time, and they expect us not to notice the plot holes, she said, and that line hit hard. Her tone was intense, her expression serious, and she didn't hold back at all. She accused federal agencies of possibly protecting someone important and suggested the narrative was being shaped for public consumption. The moment she said that, her live chat exploded. Thousands of comments pouring in, some calling her brave, others warning her to be careful. At the same time, Joe Rogan's audience took things even further online. People started digging through public court databases, trying to connect dots on their own. Some claimed that several files tied to the case had been unexpectedly sealed, raising even more questions. There were also reports that the ballistic report, something that's often public, was restricted within just 72 hours. Rogan reacted to that kind of move with clear suspicion. He said when information gets locked down that quickly, it can make people wonder what's being kept out of sight. That comment alone reignited debates across the internet and pulled even more people into the conversation. Now the focus is shifting beyond just this one case. People are starting to look for patterns, comparing it to other situations involving public figures who challenged their own organizations or questioned financial activity. Some online discussions are even drawing parallels to past scandals involving whistleblowers whose situations were never fully explained. That wave of comparison is sending a chill through online communities. And to make things even more intense, some users have pointed out that certain mainstream outlets appear to have quietly edited or removed earlier articles about the case, especially headlines that strongly pushed a lone gunman narrative. Headlines that once sounded firm are now being softened into vague phrases like suspect in custody and pending further review. And people are noticing fast. Screenshots of those quiet edits are spreading everywhere online, adding even more fuel to the fire. As one viral tweet put it, why change the story unless you're hiding something? And that question is sticking with a lot of people. And then there's the silence from Turning Point USA itself, which hasn't gone unnoticed. Outside of a short statement mourning Charlie's death, the organization has stayed unusually quiet. No updates about the reported audit, no comments on the claims about missing funds, no mention of the alleged decoy suspect or sealed records, nothing. For many watching closely, that silence feels louder than any official statement ever could. Right now, the official version of events is starting to look fractured, like pieces of a story that don't fully connect. Between Joe Rogan's ongoing skepticism and Candace Owens' bold claims, the case is being pulled apart in public, one detail at a time. And with each passing day, the questions only get louder. The contradictions keep stacking up, and the sense that there could be more beneath the surface is hard for many to shake. Because at this point, people aren't just focused on the incident itself. They're focused on the bigger picture. What happens when influence, money, and unanswered questions all collide in plain sight? And somewhere in the middle of all the noise, the silence, and the missing pieces, people are still searching for clarity. Someone out there knows exactly what really happened to Charlie Kirk, or at least that's what people are starting to believe more and more. And just when it felt like this case couldn't get any darker, a whole new wave of rumors exploded online, this time involving his wife. After his death, she stepped into a major leadership role at Turning Point USA, and that's when the questions really started pouring in. Was this simply a grieving spouse trying to carry on his legacy, or was this a leadership shift that had been planned ahead of time? That debate has taken over comment sections everywhere. Some online voices are claiming she has strong political connections tied closely to the organization, suggesting her rise wasn't sluchinum at all. Old photos, screenshots, and alleged insider messages have been circulating nonstop, making the speculation even louder. The timing of her new role has become one of the biggest talking points in the entire situation. Then people started pointing to another detail that raised even more eyebrows. A memo reportedly signed by Charlie on September 2nd, just days before his death, named Justin Stray as the new COO. Not only that, but he was supposedly assigned to lead a major internal audit initiative aimed at tracking millions in funding and uncovering inefficiencies. According to some insiders, that audit had the potential to shake the organization at its core. And when you line that up with Charlie's death less than a week later, it's easy to see why people are questioning everything. Candace Owens added even more intensity to the conversation. She claimed Charlie had been facing serious political and financial pressure before his death. She also made allegations involving high-profile figures, suggesting there were tensions over policy positions and internal direction, but none of those claims have been independently confirmed. Charlie pushed back against outside influence, and then, just days later, he was gone. That's the claim that's been echoing across the internet. Bill Ackman, however, quickly shut that down, calling the allegations absurd and false, and insisting their relationship was always respectful. Still, Owens's comments reignited speculation that powerful figures might have had reasons to want Charlie silenced before anything major came to light. Now the spotlight has shifted even more toward his widow. Some online voices are suggesting she may have known more about the internal audit and the reported power struggles than she's publicly shared. There's no solid proof behind those claims, but they've spread fast and pulled even more attention her way. The internet also locked in on her appearance at the funeral. Short clips of her calm and composed demeanor led some people to question whether her emotions were genuine, with a few even claiming her tears looked staged. There's no evidence to support that, but once that narrative started, it stuck and kept circulating. Her quick return to work only added more tension to the conversation. For some, it raised eyebrows and fueled even more speculation about timing and intent. At this point, the story is starting to feel less like a simple tragedy and more like a complicated mix of money, politics, and unanswered questions that keeps getting heavier by the day. For many watching closely, this may be the darkest chapter yet in a situation already filled with confusion. But one question still cuts through all the noise. Was Charlie Kirk's widow being unfairly targeted by online speculation, with people searching for someone to blame in a situation they still don't fully understand? Or is there actually more to her involvement than she's letting on? That's the question people keep circling back to, especially as Joe Rogan and Candace Owens continue pointing out how many strange inconsistencies surround the timeline of Charlie's assassination. Take the shooting itself! The official report claims the suspect somehow made it onto a secured rooftop at Utah Valley University without being noticed. But how does that even happen during a high-profile event with heavy security and cameras all over the place? That detail alone has people seriously questioning how tight things really were. Then there's the footage, or what little the public has actually seen. Some clips appear to show a person calmly walking away instead of running like you'd expect in a chaotic situation. Other clips seem cut short or cropped right when things should be getting clearer, leaving out key moments that people want answers about. And people still can't get past the so-called decoy suspect. That older man yelling, "I did it! in the crowd, only to later be arrested on unrelated charges. The timing raised a lot of eyebrows. It meant he was no longer available to be questioned in connection to which Rogan openly said felt way too convenient. All of it combined has led some to feel like the situation is being presented in pieces, with certain parts missing or unclear. Whether that's due to confusion, incomplete information, or something else entirely is still up for debate. But the questions aren't going away anytime soon. Social media has basically turned into one giant investigation board. People everywhere are connecting dots, lining up timelines, and questioning every detail they can find. From the memo Charlie signed before his death, to the outdated rifle reportedly used, to sealed police files and sudden leadership changes at Turning Point USA, none of it fits together cleanly. And that's exactly why so many people are doubting the official version of events. For them, there are just too many loose ends and unanswered questions. Some are even suggesting the chaos itself might have been intentional. A distraction, a smokescreen to keep the public focused on confusion while something bigger was happening behind the scenes. Whether that's true or not, it's a theory that's spreading fast. As more clips, leaked claims, and documents continue to surface, the situation isn't calming down. It's getting more intense. The questions aren't fading, they're multiplying. What once seemed like a random act of violence now feels to many like part of a much bigger picture. A complicated web involving influence, money, and mystery that's slowly chipping away at public trust. Whether this was simply a tragic or something more calculated is still being debated. What do you think really happened? Let me know in the comments, and stay tuned for more updates as this story continues to unfold.